without further ado, I give you Zamoyni McMillan.
Hello all, I'm so honored to be here upon Wendy's request to share with you the story of how I arrived at where I am now, and with the hope that it may shed some light on the tenacity of TEEX students. The TEEX Fellowship has many a time witnessed my rise and fall. Some examples: me as a high school graduate. Hi Vanessa, I lost my passport in the Madrid subway, so I'll have to miss Princeton's orientation. A while later, no, just kidding, I found it in the subway. It's all good. Boy, were they nervous. Me as a junior at Groton School. Hi Beth, calling for our usual Monday check-in. I was heading back to school, and now I'm stranded in the middle of Massachusetts on the wrong side of the state. So I'll call you at 2 a.m. when I arrive at Groton. And even before high school, during my last year of Summer Institute, hi Rachel, I won't be able to make class today. My family and I need a place to sleep for tomorrow. It happened overnight. In the summer of 2011, I experienced my first major downfall. One day, I woke up to find myself sprawled on top of 3 chairs with sticky banana peels squished underneath my thighs, a crumpled brown paper bag with lunch spilled all over the checkered towels, and my flattened, stiff JanSport backpack adequately supporting my head. As I readjusted myself to the sounds of wailing babies, loud parents, and heavy footsteps. I was having a moment of extreme fatigue that left me in oblivion. I looked across the room at the blinking red light, something I could never forget, and something that would forever fuel my motivation and burning desire to rise above my limitations. The light above the booth signaled the next waiting customers to walk forth for an evaluation in order to see if they were eligible for a placement in the shelter. My family had a while to wait, and I was simply acclimating to my predicament. We were in the Preventing Assistance and Temporary Housing Office in the midst of a filthy slum. The year before I was to leave for boarding school, I became homeless, and for a while, it was the only thing I thought about. The moment my mother called my siblings and me down to the living room to announce our eviction was the moment that concluded the first phase of my life. We were losing the 2-story house in the tree-lined suburbs of Queens, where I spent 9 years of my life cultivating childhood experiences, exploring and settling into my neighborhood, and taking homeschooling courses around the mahogany table in the dining room. My family was losing a house. I was losing my home, the place I depended on, grounded me, and gave me stability. When we were finally placed in a shelter in East New York, things were completely different from my previous lifestyle in Queens. The noise of the L train ricocheted off the tracks every 5 minutes. Sign-in sheets recorded our arrival and departure times like we were employees at a blue-collar job. Hopeless shelter residents loitered the streets. Smoke polluted the once pristine air. Weeds grew from cracked cemented roads, and I took refuge in a studio apartment with my 3 siblings and single mother. After a dreadful 3-month experience, I was able to leave the shelter, but there was no going back to my previous grounded state in Queens. In fact, I was moving 10 minutes by train deeper into Brooklyn to our new apartment. For me, there would be no more notion of home. During my high school years, I was constantly transitioning between different environments. The affluent atmosphere at Groton and the impoverished neighborhood of East New York. Coming back to Brooklyn for breaks, I was constantly adjusting to sleeping on the hard floor at my apartment after enjoying a soft bed at school. I would skim down on meal portions because food in my kitchen was scarce, and I readjusted to finding free activities to do in New York. I readjusted to finding free activities to do in New York as well, due to the absence of television and an internet connection in my apartment. The only thing that didn't change, but rather developed, was my perseverance and resourcefulness. I took advantage of the plethora of opportunities Groton offered, from clubs and lectures to courses and activities, because I finally had no limitations to stop me from focusing on my exploration and growth. Although navigating 2 worlds at once was a challenge, the disparity between these environments and the back-to-back transitioning helped me to find my place. I could be a member of 2 vastly different communities. I could thrive from the education and close relationships at Groton, while simultaneously trying to overcome the struggle that devours East New York. Living in the homeless shelter has shaped me into the young man I am today. Instead of dwelling on my past tribulations and focusing on finding home, I instead adapt to my surroundings, ultimately allowing myself to appreciate the values of these places. While I went through the transition of moving from Queens to a homeless shelter, the former TEAC director, Lynn Sorensen, would personally make me cheese sandwiches for breakfast at Summer Institute. During the spring intensive courses, she made sure I had food in my stomach and personally went to the nearby Trader Joe's to purchase me microwavable meals to have for lunch. Everyone knew about my vegetarian tendencies. Lynn said I was picky. I didn't like fruity yogurt at the time. Others offered to contribute as well, which goes to show how caring everyone was. Even to this day, last I remember, John Green moved his desk outside of his office to provide more use of the space and to help foster a more welcoming environment, if you didn't already feel that way the minute you walked past those glass doors. Including my time at Groton, when Jamie and Beth became my advisors, they helped me commute from New York City to Massachusetts. They provided their support. Vesta and Dan kept in contact with me during my gap year to Europe, and up to this point, they can be sure that whenever I'm in a predicament, I'll get out of it, because that's what I do. I rush onto a path, maybe the wrong path at times, but I somehow navigate that path till the very end. Ask Vanessa. My family is doing well at the moment. My mom went from being unemployed to working as an EMT to working as an LPN, a licensed practical nurse, and she's currently training intensively, working and studying, taking paramedic courses, and looking to become a registered nurse. A few years ago, she said she wanted to rent a car. Recently, she obtained a fine white SUV, which she can now show off. She said she might apply to UPenn School of Medicine or Rutgers or Drexel, and things only go up from there. Having studied in France during her junior year, my younger sister really enjoyed the experience. She graduated from Deerfield Academy this past June and will be returning to France in a few days. My brother is getting good grades at school in the city, and my older sister is applying to transfer colleges and pursue her dreams in acting. We are set. We have each other, and for me personally, without TEAC's guidance, support, and strong sense of community, I imagine my future would have turned out completely different. Where would my level of confidence be? Who would be my second family? How much focus would I have to tackle the rigorous studies at Groton School and Princeton University? Thank you, TEAC, and thank you, Mom, for having my back and going through this roller coaster ride with me.